Discover your inner goddess and live up to your highest value and most abundant potential. Welcome to Grateful Goddesses, a podcast that empowers you to unleash your inner goddess and take the leap of faith to live your best life. Your guide, Karen Pulver, joins her fellow goddesses in soulful conversations about gratitude, personal growth, authentic living, and a bevy of topics affecting women today. Let's start the show with your host, Karen Pulver.
I always love that song. It's so inspirational, don't you think? I'm really glad that you're joining us today. I'm here in downtown Chicago at the Soho House. I came here with my daughter. Full disclosure, I was a little bit late, so I said, let's just find a room and I'm going to do the podcast here. So I'm in a room here, but you might hear some disco music outside, and I'll mute myself whenever it gets too loud. But I wanted to introduce our guest tonight. This is a returning guest, Ellen Schwartz. She's an elementary teacher, author, inspirational public speaker, and advocate for research awareness and screening for neurodegenerative diseases. She's founder of Project Give Back, and she links her 30 years of teaching and her personal passion for charitable causes with the skills of fundraising, thus instilling a true love of giving. She's helping children realize the power within themselves to change the world and instilling empathy while igniting a new generation of community-minded citizens. And there's so much more about her. So please tune in to our episode that I recorded with her, oh my gosh, maybe 2 years ago when she was on Grateful Goddesses. Welcome, Ellen, back to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So great to have you back, especially because you added more chapters to your second book.
Yes.
And that's one of the main reasons why we're here tonight. But your first book, Lessons from Jacob, is so beautiful, and you talk about all the many lessons that you've learned from your son who passed away at 21. And can you first just start off by those who don't know your story, just telling us a little bit about Jacob and your two other children as well?
Of course. So hello, nice to meet you. I am a mom of three, Jacob, who was 21, Beverly, who is 22, and Ben, who is now 19. And Jacob was our eldest, and he was born with a fatal neurodegenerative disease called Canavan disease. So he was never able to walk or talk or see or move. And we were told that he wouldn't live till 5 years of age. And thankfully, he lived till 21. And I was just so grateful for every moment of every single day that we had with him, because he was just a brilliant human being.
Sorry, I was muted. You wrote this book before he passed.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about the lessons? I mean, there's so many. We don't need to go over all of them, but what inspired you then to write this book?
So the first book I wrote because I just wanted to get down into words my feelings, because it was very cathartic. And Jakey was just teaching me lessons every single day. And I wanted to remember these lessons because they were so important. I stopped writing the first book when he turned 9, and then didn't write the second one until he was 18. But some of those lessons I was able to put into a bracelet. And I think, Karen, you have one of them. So they look like this. And this is the men's one, and there's all kinds of them, but the shiny bead represents Jacob. And when I think about Jakey, and I wear it because I think about his most impactful lessons, the first one being he was just so positive. I mean, I don't know about you, if I couldn't walk or talk or see or move, I don't think I'd be so happy. Yet he was the happiest person I'd ever met. he just loved life and he loved everything life had to offer. And he communicated it in his very unique language. And that was language of smiles and visuals, like through his eyes. You could tell that if he was happy or sad, and he chose happy. So that was kind of the first lesson he taught me. The second lesson was, and it's also in the bracelet, is he was so appreciative of everyone and everything. He just never took anything for granted. Like the littlest things meant everything to him. He was always also just so accepting of others. He couldn't see you. So he didn't care what you looked like. He didn't care what you were wearing. He didn't care what your hair looked like. He didn't care about, if you were wealthy or not wealthy or what religion you were. He felt you. And if you were kind, he felt that kindness and he loved you. So he made a lot of friends. And I think one of the most important lessons he taught me was he taught me to slow down and to live in the moment. When you were with Jacob, time just slowed right down to his level. He wasn't worried about what happened in the past. He wasn't worried about what was about to happen in the future. He was just here and now. And when you were with him, that's where you were too. And it was just such a beautiful way to live life. So I wear this bracelet and I remember those lessons every single moment of every single day. So he comes with me everywhere. So yeah.
You sell those bracelets and the proceeds go to
the proceeds go to Project Give Back, which is I was a teacher for years, and I developed a curriculum, and it's in schools all over, well, right now Toronto and surrounding areas, but it teaches kids the importance of giving and how to be compassionate and empathetic leaders. So you can buy the bracelets on projectgiveback.com.
That's incredible. So there's so many of the lessons from Jacob that I love, but one that I've used so often is the worry hour. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's 2 hours for me. But, my husband always says, he calls it the drawer, put it in the drawer. Like, so take it out of the drawer or, the worry hour, worry about it for an hour or a certain time period, and then put it away, because otherwise you ruminate all day, right?
Yeah, otherwise it controls you. So you can control it. And like you're saying, for me, it's in the shower. So I pop into the shower and I worry about anything and everything that's bothering me. And right now in our world, there's a lot of things that are bothering us. Everything is so unpredictable right now. There's so many anxieties. There's so much unrest. There's just so much to worry about. But then you think, what can I control? And whatever it is you can control, you do it. You do it right away. You just take it off your worry list. Sorry, my dog is making noises. So let me just I'm sorry to pause here. I'm just going to get her something to chew. I'll be right back. Sorry about that.
A lot of us do, so don't worry. She also talks about, here I'm reading in her book she plans like a pity party. So she vents during that time, during that worry hour, she'll vent about her marriage, her frustrations about her children, family problems, just life in general. It's kind of like just taking those feelings that overwhelm you and then not holding them around all day. Just have that time to do that. And she also lowers her expectations, which I find hard. She says, if I learned pretty quickly that if I didn't expect anything, I would be pleasantly surprised by the generosity of others. I was just mentioning about your expectations and lowering no expectations, actually, right?
Yes. That's a really important thing.
There's so many, I'd love to go worry time. There's what other lessons do you, all of them, but like make someone else feel special. This was great because you make a challah every Friday night. Do you still do that?
So not every Friday night because my kids aren't living at home anymore. So, and if I make challah, we end up eating the whole thing all the time. So to be perfectly honest, I don't make it every Friday night, but I still make it, and I give them away. But when my kids were little, it was such a beautiful thing for us to do together as a family. So we would make them and we would decide who was going to get those challahs. And you just felt so good giving something from your heart. You asked me what the hearts were behind me. I don't know if you can see behind these hearts. Okay. So this is something that I've just learned this year. It was a really tough year, and I think for a lot of us. So one day I was just feeling really low, and I started writing names of people who have impacted my life. So people I love, people I admire, people I respect, people who have been kind to me, whether it was something grand or just a smile, just what you needed. And I wrote all their names down, and every day I take out one of them. I take out one of their names. Her name's Maddie. And I write them a letter and I mail it. And I tell them why they're so special and how they have impacted my life and why I'm so happy to be a part of their world. And so every single day I send one letter, and it just makes me feel great. When I walk into my office, I see this and I feel really lucky that there's so many people that I love and I care about and love me back. So that was something I started doing this year, and it's really helped me through a really difficult time.
And it's in the shape of a house, like a home.
Yeah.
I love
It's a glass box.
And one of these maybe do it right now, because we're going to do some interactive activities, and this just seems fitting. I've done this before on Grateful Goddesses, but take out your phone, everybody. If you're watching on your phone, then you'll do this after. Just randomly, whoever you think of first, just whoever that is, I got that person in my head, text them, I love you, I'm grateful for you, you're special, whatever you want to say. So go do that now, and then put your phone down. And then at the end of the show, let's see what they say back. Okay, so I just text my son, who I don't speak to that often because he's 27 and busy and working and engaged and all that stuff. I just said, I love you, with a little happy face. Let's see what he says. He might say, what's wrong with you, Mom? Or maybe he'll say, I love you back. You know, I'm going to do it for another one too. And I should do it. You know what? I got to do it for all my kids.
Yeah, you can't do one and not the others. That's for sure.
One of them is watching. I can see her here, so I better get her too.
Aww.
But you know, that is beautiful, Ellen. And do you get responses?
I do. I do. But you know what? It's not about the response. It's about the giving. So I've given it away. If it's hopefully it's going to make them their day and make them feel good. And if they don't respond, that's fine. It's not about that.
The no expectation part.
No, it's not about the getting. It's about the giving.
Because I will be brutally honest. Sometimes when I give to people and I help them through challenges, and then when I'm going through challenges, I'm like, wait, I need, give to me. What's going on? Wait. And I'm like, no, I can't be like that, because if I give, you have to just give out of your heart and not expect back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yes, you just can't. You can't even go there, because I'm sure there's reasons for it, right?
It's hard. That's a beautiful activity to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my daughter just replied. I just have to say, I love you. Okay. And my other daughter sent me her, she's having a lot of drama. Okay. Well,
Okay.
We'll talk about.
So my message, I just beam my message up. So I got the response right away.
Okay, so tonight, there's been a lot of grief over the last few years, like not just people dying, but also loss of jobs, loss of fallacy. We've talked about this before in Grateful Goddesses. And, you know, obviously with the loss of your dear Jakey, you had to deal with this. You said you've always known that it would happen, but you weren't quite ready for it. And then when it happened, you weren't sure how to deal with it. And I believe we spoke for our first time very soon after that. And then you were working on these extra chapters for the book, which, by the way, was wonderful.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about, we're going to go into all the examples of helpful ways or suggestions, or, you know, everyone deals with grief differently, but how did you deal with Jacob's loss?
So, you know, even today, and this is 3 years later, every morning I wake up and I still feel like I'm getting punched in the stomach, like or hit by a Mack truck. So it's every day. It's still, you know, it's my child. It's my, you know, but that's not a way to live. So I take him with me everywhere I go. Everything I do and everywhere I go, I'm continuing to share his messages. And I think he's really proud. Like I feel him with me. And there are times where, Susan King loved this, there are times where there have been real signs, there's no doubt that Jacob came to say hi. But I feel that our relationship has changed, but it's not over. It's definitely not over. It'll never be over until one day I can be with him again. But for now, I continue to carry his message, his lessons with me. One thing that was really, really, really hard at the beginning was because we did everything for Jakey, right? Like we fed him, we had to suction him, we had to change him, we had to, every single thing was around my schedule. So his schedule was my schedule was his schedule. And then when he passed, you know, even though, you know, you prepare and you're never prepared. I wasn't prepared, but there were those moments in the day that were just harder than any other moments. And those were those moments like 8 a.m., 12 p.m., 4 p.m., 8 p.m., and 10 p.m., because he had real specific needs at those times. It was his meds, it was his feeds, it was his suctioning, it was changing whatever I had to change. It was, you know, and those moments of those days, those times were excruciating. And it went on for 2 years. It felt like I was, like I said, hit to the stomach at those times. So I did something with those moments. And what I did is I replaced them with things that feel good and things that I love. So 8 a.m., it's coffee time. I sit down, I do the Wordle, I read, I check my emails, I enjoy my coffee. It's like time with Jakey, slow down time, right? At 12 noon, I force myself to sit down again and I have something to eat. I eat lunch, which I don't normally do. I'm running from school to school to school. I don't do that now. Noon, again, Jakey time. 4 o'clock, again, it's popcorn time. I turn the world off. I pour myself a bowl of popcorn. I eat my popcorn. It's a Jakey time. At 8 p.m., we take our puppy. We go for a beautiful family walk. And then at 10, it's tea time. So I take 5 times a day and it's Jakey time. And it's substituting that pain with something that feels nice. And that seems to be helping.
That's so beautiful. You replace those times with doing things you love, which then you'll sit and you'll remember Jakey, but also taking some self-care.
Yes. Another thing that I did over this time to help through the grief was Jakey loved music. Music touched his soul. And I believe we shared his song last time I was on, but that's how he communicated. And because he loved music so much, so many talented people used to come every Sunday to our house, and they would sing to him. And our house was like a revolving door of music. And then when Jakey passed, the music kind of died too, until I got a call from one of his buddies who's told me, I miss our music. I miss it. So I called these musical friends and reached out to so many families who had children with special needs. And we have a concert every single Sunday, and it started during lockdown, and we have not missed one. And it's called Jake's Sunday Jams, and it's on Zoom because so many cannot leave their houses during this time. And it has been so beautiful. So I find Jakey comes out to play every Sunday at 4 as well.
And I've watched many of those, and they are beautiful. How can people get a join in on those?
So if they want to, they just email me, ellen@projectgiveback.com. And I'll add them to I call them the jammer list. And they get the link every Friday. There's a performer list and there's a jammer list. So like the audience and the performers, because the performers change each week and the lineup changes each week. But the audience is always pretty much the same. And it's just beautiful. Anyone's welcome. It's all ages, all abilities.
It is a community that Jake has inspired. It's really a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I wanted to get into some of the things you talk about in your new chapters. You say, quote, when your heart is broken wide open, it's only then when you can truly see the beauty that surrounds you. The greater the pain, the greater the love. Oh, yes. But can you elaborate on that?
Well, that's really what grief is. Grief is love. Grief is unconditional, truly, madly, deeply love. And if you can take that and you can, with the loss, you think, I am so lucky. It turns it to feeling gratitude opposed to the loss, because even to get that kind of love for a day, how lucky are we? So that's what when I say that, that's what I mean. Like the grief is love. And what was the first part? I'm sorry.
Like when your heart is broken.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, I don't know if you've suffered loss, hopefully not, but we all will. It's inevitable. Your heart literally breaks. Like you feel broken. And what I notice is when you're broken, it forces you to really look around and to really see who is there and all the kindness that happens around you. One small story, and I write about this in the book, it's not so small, it's a beautiful story, is at the time when Jake passed, we were living in a rental house. Everything was pink. The walls everywhere was pink in this house. We were living in this house because on the main floor, there was a den, which we transformed into Jacob's room, right? So it was wheelchair accessible. So we were in this rental house. The room looked like a hospital room. It had his hospital bed. It had all of his machines. It had his oxygen, his feeding stuff. It had all of his equipment. And I said to my girlfriend, who's a real estate agent, I said, this is the room I want to be in. I don't want to leave Jakey's room. No one's going to want to be in here. This looks like a hospital room. Jake's bed's going to be a coat rack. And the next day, there was a knock at my door. And there was a truck in the driveway. And all of a sudden, all the stuff, the medical stuff from Jacob's room left. So the hospital bed, the oxygen, the tubes, the diapers, the meds, tons of meds, everything just left the room. And then in came a carpet. And then in came 2 love seats and a coffee table and lamps. And she took all of his art and hung up all of his art. And she transformed Jake's room into Jake's lounge. And that is where the entire Shiva, I sat, and people came and sat with me in Jake's room. Like, those are the beautiful things that you notice that happen when you're at your lowest point. I mean, I'm a giver, I'm a doer. I'm not really a taker. I've always been uncomfortable taking, but I love to give. So it forces you to take from others and to receive. And that's what the circle's all about. You know, if you can give, you give. And if you need to take, you need to receive, then you receive. And that allows it to happen. So that's what I meant. When you're raw and broken, it forces you to really see the goodness around you.
We also, you and I talked about, everyone's intentions are good. They want to reach out to you. They want to support you. They want to be there for you. But sometimes people don't know what to say, or they say something that's just like, oh, it just hits the wrong. So what are some of the things that people said to you? Of course, their intentions were good, but that you said in your book to not say, because I think this is important, because when I was reading them, I was like, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, but I've done that. I've said that.
Absolutely. We all have because, well, first of all, we're uncomfortable. When somebody's suffering great loss, we're uncomfortable and we don't want to say the wrong things. And when you're walking on eggshells, what's the first thing you do? You make mistakes, right? Because you're nervous, right? So of course, people are always going to say the wrong things, but you have to think, okay, first of all, like you just said, their heart's in the right place. They are here. They're supporting, they're here, and that just means that they're sending their love, right? But they sometimes do say things that you're wow. And for us, some of them were, when somebody's passed, try not to say at least, put at least in front of the sentence. At least he lived 21 years. At least you have 2 other children. At least you have this support. At least he didn't suffer as much as he could have. Because what at least does, it minimizes, it tries to minimize this loss and this grief. And you don't want that to happen. You want to feel that. You want to, because like I said, grief is love. So you want to feel that pain. And you want to talk about that person, and you want to memorize that person. You never want them to leave. So the at least, definitely to try not to do. Another thing that is a hard thing to do, but is to not say, what can I do to help? Because when you're grieving and you're low, you're going to say, like I would say, nothing. Because first of all, you don't know what you want. You don't know what you need. And anytime someone asks you, you just don't want to put people out. So you don't want to say, oh, can you just say nothing. So my advice would be, if you really want to help somebody who's grieving or going through a rough time, just do it. Just pick up and drop off a meal at their house. It may be the wrong meal. Or, drop off something, drop off a cookbook, bring flowers, do something active to let them know that you care. And if it's the wrong thing, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you cared and you thought about them. But don't say, how can I help?
Well, you and I also discussed that a friend's father passed away last week, and I've just been sending her emojis because, I tried to reach out. We talked a little bit, but I know it was hard to always connect every day. So I just did a heart or a little flower, or a little kissy face. And then she told me how much it helped her just the other day. I really appreciated that. And I'm like, well, that's great. So you just don't know what to say. You're right. So even just something. And if it bothered her, then she just wouldn't have looked at it. But
right. And sometimes there aren't words. There really aren't words. But a hug says so much more now that we can hug, where, but a hug says so much more than any words could ever say.
So I also, we talked a bit before the show. Sorry, guys, that we started to get into this conversation. I'm like, save it. But, I had suffered a miscarriage. I have 3 children, but I miraculously became pregnant after when my youngest daughter was 10. And we joke about it because I didn't realize I was pregnant. Those shows like you're a teenager and you're pregnant and they didn't know? That was me, but I was in my 40s. So anyway, when I found out that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to have another child. Okay, I'm going to have this baby. And then I agreed, I'm going to have this baby. And a week went by, went to the doctor, everything's good. And then I lost the baby. And I just had this weird, I didn't know who this baby was. It wasn't like a baby I was holding, but I knew it was like a Dylan Schuyler Taylor. Like it was one of my kids. And I had this really deep loss feeling like I've never had. And I wanted to ask you about miscarriage, because that's like a child that is in us, but we've never met, we've never held, we don't know, but yet we still feel loss. And people would say to me, even after this, they say, well, thank goodness, because you were older and you didn't want this child anyway. And I'm like, what are you talking about? People say things that they don't know what to say, but it's more about the loss and dealing with that grief, because it's kind of like, I didn't actually bury this child, so with miscarriage, it's like a slippery slope of what to say and how to act and how to feel.
Yes, it is. It's a definite loss. I mean, I as well, I have 3 children, but I had 7 or 8 pregnancies. So I know that loss very well. And it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, but like every loss, you have to feel that. You can't run away from it. You have to face it. You have to feel it. We were told early after Jacob passed, our kids were seeing grief counselors. And one of the grief counselors made the most amazing analogy, and we use it today in our house, and it's called puddle jumping. And she said, grief is like puddle jumping. You jump from puddle to puddle to puddle. Some of the puddles are very deep, and some of them are just really shallow, and you just go over them. But the important thing is you have to sink. You have to sink into those puddles, and you will get to the other side. And my daughter will call me from Halifax, and she'll be in tears, said, Mom, I'm in a really deep puddle. And we'll go in that puddle together, right? Or she called me and said, Mom, I can't hear Jakey anymore. I don't know what I forgot what his voice sounds like. So instantly we're on the phone and we're like, finding every video that we have. Listen, Bevy, listen, here he is. So it's okay to go into those puddles, and you have to go into those puddles, because as I said before, that's love. That's love. And you have to find that. And when your tears match your smile, you bring back those memories, and that happens. You have to let the tears go.
Okay, I have to think about that, because pain is hard. It's hard.
But thank God for pain, because if we didn't have pain, we wouldn't appreciate joy, right? Like, yeah.
So, feeling, like you said, embracing the highs and lows, learn from the lows. I like this visual. We're not in a balanced state, like just balanced. We're like a teeter-totter, going up and down and up and down, and never, this just balance, because we have to embrace the highs with the lows. But I mean, raise your hand. Do you like feeling this pain, people? Yes? No.
I do. I do. When the pain hits, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for that pain, because it It means Jakey's close. It means he's still here. He's still with me. It's I'm scared for the day when I don't feel it, to be perfectly honest. I've talked to some of my friends who have lost their husbands. I have a few friends, and they're also grateful for that pain. And yes, they live beautiful lives, and they're some of them have found partners and live a beautiful life. But it's that love they had, they'll forever feel pain for it. But you can feel pain and joy at the same time. And that is that teeter-totter. It's okay to feel that. That's what life's about. It's humbling and it's grounding, right? And you have to be grateful for the pain, because when the joy does come, it's just that much better.
Much better.
Mm.
By the way, viewers who are joining us live in our audience, if you have any questions for Ellen, please type them in the chat as we're going along. We are going to do an activity, and if you'd like to participate, please do. If you don't worry about it. I can be the example. But I was wanting you all, because at GGTV, it's all about, doing activities and engaging and everything. So I was thinking of this activity. Think of an uncomfortable experience in your life. Perhaps it's a loss, or maybe it's a change that's just not quite flowing. It's like a, you're stuck, or you're feeling pain, right? I wanted you to think for a moment, maybe on a piece of paper or on your phone, name it. And then I wanted you then to try and figure out what is the lesson you can learn from it. And that's what I want Ellen here to help us with, if you can. I know you're not a psychologist, but you've experienced this. And
yeah,
so,
I mean, interesting enough, there's this woman who called me, and she had just recently, their child had recently been diagnosed with a fatal, horrible illness. And they were trying to make some type of sense. And she'd reached out to a lot of people, and she reached out to me. And I said to her, I said, do you realize you've just been given the best gift you could have ever been given in your life? And she's like, well, that's the first person to say that to me. But it's true, because sometimes listen, every moment with Jakey was so precious. He lived in a way that no one else I know lives. So it was a true gift. And the lessons that he taught my other children about life and about resiliency and patience and gratitude, it's unlimited. So our worst lessons, our toughest lessons, are always our greatest gifts, our greatest lessons for the future, even though they hurt at the time.
So I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if anyone wants to share, you can raise your hand. If not, I can share. I haven't experienced a lot of loss, and I'm, in terms of close family members, but I did, my brother had brain surgery a few years ago. And so he lost a lot of his capacities. And I felt like that was an intense loss for him. So he came out with, he's partially blind, he's deaf in one ear, he has short-term memory loss. He lost his ability to know when he's full. So he eats unless you tell him you've eaten, so he's gained a lot of weight. And I just felt tremendous sorrow and sadness for him. And I'm still trying to figure out what is the lesson? Maybe to appreciate all the capacities that I have, that I can see and hear. And I still don't know. I'm angry still. I'm angry that this was the outcome. I know you can't this is the lesson, but I'm still trying to figure out what is the lesson from this.
What is the lesson for him? How does he feel about it all?
He's very sad about it, but he's doing all that he can do based on his capacities. He's grateful to be alive, for sure, but he's certainly sad that he can't do all that he used to do. So look, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but those are the kinds of things that like I wonder about. I know there's a lesson there somewhere, and maybe I'll hear it one day, like you did with Jakey, but I'm not sure what it is yet. But there is a lesson in everything. I do know that, and it's important to open up to that. Oh, Elliot has his hand up. Okay, we'll unmute you, Elliot. You can unmute yourself too.
First of all, Ellen, I'm so sorry about the whole situation, but no parent should bury a child or a mother or a son. But I would let you know, I deal with a lot of people with grief that have children that have passed away. And I deal with them on what you call this Jewish spiritual level. And you mentioned that you had the shiver in the house where he was living, in the rental house, where they changed everything. And I just want to give you maybe this hope. I mean, the hope that when you have your lunch at 12 and then at 4 and everything, you're with him and everything. He's always with you. But in the shiva house, the Jewish people light a candle. It's called a memorial candle, and it lights for 7 days. And it's really interesting about that candle. Why a candle? Well, it's interesting, when you wake up and you have your heart working, it's working 24 hours a day, sleeping, running. It's always working by itself, no electricity. And that candle, when you light it, if you blow on it lightly, it will waver. And then after it waves, it goes to its highest point. And that is the soul going to heaven. And to give you a good feeling about this, God loves children. And when there's a circumcision or a bris, God attends that. He loves it. And he likes to have the children next to him. And when you say Jake passed on, which is a tough thing to say, he isn't passed on to make you feel a little bit better. He passed on next to God. He's on a new journey. And that journey, he's talking about you and your family, your husband and the other 2 children and everyone. And I want to just give you hope, because the strength that you have, for every loss, there's some type of good that you gave to other people that have experienced this terrible thing. And you're a gift. You're a real gift, Ellen. And have a good neshama, a good soul. And I know Jake is up there watching over, and he suffered. No one should suffer like that. No one. And God bless you, and keep up your good work. And one other thing, my daughter makes challah, she makes it 20, 30 challahs at a time, and she gives it out and blesses those who are sick. And every challah has a name of someone that's sick. And when they eat that challah, they make a blessing for that. And it's a spiritual high, giving without getting back. It's the biggest gift you can have. And God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you, Elliot. Those were such beautiful, beautiful, touching words. Thank you.
Well, Ellen is really spreading Jacob's message with everything she's doing. And those of you who are just joining us, we're talking with Ellen Schwartz. She's been on the show before. Her book, Lessons with Jacob, and then her other book, Without One Word Spoken, she added chapters in about grief, and that's what we're talking about. And there's so many ideas or suggestions of how to deal with grief. When I Googled, 27 of them came up, of all these different things you can do. But you say a lot of different ideas in your book. And I just wanted to go through some of those with everyone. So this was great. Make time to notice and be with what is here and in front of you, obviously. You talk a lot too, what you just said about feeling those feelings. And that's like the hardest. I find that hard. But surrounding yourself with loved ones, talking about it, journaling, writing poems, songs, anything to get your emotions out. Try not to stuff those emotions down. Therapy if needed, right? If you feel like you can't handle it, to get therapy or therapy for your family. And then of course doing things for others to help you. Do you ever talk to Jake out loud, like a one-sided conversation?
All the time. He's the first person I say good morning to, and the last person I say good night to. And I used to ask myself 3 questions every night when I went to bed. This is when Jake was with us. Was I good to myself? Was I good to others? Did I do the best I could with this day? And now I asked Jakey. I said, Jakey, was I good to myself today? Was I good to others? Did I do the best with my day? And I feel like I'm always having a talk with him. Always. He's with me for sure.
And I found that so interesting what you wrote about the signs, because we've talked on Grateful Goddesses about signs. Can you share about the ice cream truck? That was like,
so it's we see signs all the time, like, and my son now sees them, my daughter sees them, who weren't like me. They like, I remember walking looking for them and was crying, and we were on a nature walk and I'm looking for those signs and I was crying, and I said to my son, Ben, he's not sending signs. Like, what is going on? What? And Ben said, Mom, stop looking so hard. Right. So I listened to him and I stopped looking. And then funnily enough, he came so strong with his signs on his birthday. Every year on his birthday, that's when it's happened. My kids receive signs all the time. This is a great story about my daughter. Everywhere she goes, she sees a blue jay. And the blue jay always goes in front of her. Michelle, you got excited. Okay, so the blue jay lands in front of her, and literally they face to face, and then it goes away. And she was telling Ben, they don't live in the same city. She's out in Halifax, he's at Kingston. So they were talking on the phone, and Ben was in a puddle and talking to Bevy. Isn't that nice? They call each other. Like, that alone is amazing. So they were talking, and Ben said to Bevy, there's 2 blue jays on my windowsill right now. And she says, well, of course there is, Ben. And he said, what are you talking about? He said, that's Jakey. Jakey knows you're sad. He's coming and visiting. And since that day, Ben sees blue jays all the time. So the 2 of them, that's pretty beautiful that they have that. But the ice cream truck story is, every year on Jake's birthday, we used to have an ice cream truck come to our house, because, as I said earlier, Jakey couldn't walk, talk, move. We used to bring our neighbors to us. It was easier than taking him out. So everybody came to us. And during the day, one-on-one, people would come sing to him, people would talk to him, and they'd have an ice cream and head out. So the first year, just after he passed on his birthday, we moved into this new house that we were building for Jakey that I talked about earlier as well. And so we were packing up, we were going up north for the long weekend. His birthday's May 17th. And Ben and I are packing up, and all of a sudden we hear the sound of an ice cream truck. The truck comes right to our driveway. Our new house is on a road that doesn't go anywhere. It's not a shortcut. It's not. So came right to our driveway and said, hey, do you guys want an ice cream? And Ben and I looked at each other. And then we went up to the driver. Of course we got ice cream. I'm even lactose intolerant, but that didn't stop me. Of course I got an ice cream. And I said, what made you come here today? Like, what, is this your route? And he said, no, it's not. I've never been in this area. Something just made me turn down the street. So that's the first story. Elliot's going, yes. The second story is even more crazy. So we were up north, because his birthday's always on the long weekend. And near our cottage, there's an old nunnery, and they've built a labyrinth. So I was out walking our puppy, and it was his birthday. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to walk in the labyrinth. So I walked around the labyrinth with the puppy, and my dog just pulled me to a plant. So I went to the plant, and it looked like bluebells, but it wasn't bluebells. It was a little taller and a little bigger, and took a picture of them. And actually, they're called Jacob's Ladder. But that's not the end of that story. I took a picture of the labyrinth with the Jacob's Ladder at the end, and then went home and was showing my husband, look at this. Like, Jakey came to visit. Look at this. He says, he looks at the picture and he said, oh my gosh, Ellen, do you not see what's in this picture? I said, what? The trees made a ladder to the Jacob's Ladder. They're shadows through the labyrinth. It was a full, vivid ladder. And so it was like, there's no mistaking that sign at all. So yeah, so Jakey does come and lets us know he's doing okay.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that second story. That's incredible. I knew about the ice cream truck. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, that just happened the last birthday. I could show you the picture. It's
I would love to see that. That is incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I believe in signs. Sometimes I look too hard for them. It's when I just don't, and then they show up. When you look too hard, it doesn't happen, right?
No.
Cardinals from my late mother-in-law. She's a cardinal, and my grandparents are mourning doves. Like, I just love birds. But thank you for sharing that. You know, we do have some intuitive energy healers and astrology. Michelle Marie's astrologist, and they're private messaging me here, and I hope it's okay, and it won't upset you, but they're seeing Jacob by your side right now. I don't.
That would never upset me. Thank you. I hope he's always with me. Thank you.
I just wanted to Dennis, because she specifically was saying she sees him as a little boy. Is that okay, Ellen, if she shares?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Yeah, he was showing me himself on your left shoulder as a little boy, but they show themselves to me in a way that I understand the relationship, right? And so he was showing me as being like at this height sort of thing. And that's because he's your son, right? And so I needed to see that in that way. But he's there, he's with you all the time. He's certainly full of light. He's just this beautiful light being that's off to that shoulder. And yeah, he's just sending so much love. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do. I feel it. I really do.
And it was definitely him whispering in the ear when you were telling the ice cream truck story. I was seeing him like doing this, like whispering in the truck driver's ear. Because Renata's also a medium. She was saying that he's one of your guides. And yeah, I agree. He's one of your guides.
I'm looking back at your message. Sorry, if we can unmute you. You said you pulled a card. Let's unmute you. Michelle.
Oh, so I asked what his overall energy in the spirit realms was, and I got healer.
Right.
Health. He is looking after your health and the health of your family members, and that he is galactic. So this goes beyond. I know Tanis has a lot of connections with the galactic healers, and it's a higher vibration of energy. And what he told me was it was difficult to be in the human body because he has such a strong energy field and force that the body couldn't contain it. Does that make any sense? And it affected the health, but he's able to do all of the things energetically now because he's not in the limiting adjunct of the human body. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Were you here when we talked about the concerts that happen every Sunday?
I did, and I came late. We have another show. I apologize.
So we do, in his honor, Jakey attracted so many talented artists because he loved music. That was how he communicated. And like when you say what you said, that was it. Like they came to him like it was magnetic. So Sundays in our house, it was a revolving door of musicians used to come and sing with him or sing to him with him. And now, since his passing, we've continued those concerts with the special needs world every single Sunday since COVID started. So we, like, when you say that his healing energy is still happening every single Sunday. So we feel him. We all of us do. It's all in his name.
He's
Did you say that a rabbi once approached you and said something to you as well about Jake?
Yeah. So rabbis used to see Jacob and they would bow their heads to him because they had told me that he is as pure can be. And it's such a it's such a blessing to be able to be his mom. And I felt that, so when he passed, I knew he didn't have far to go. Like, I knew he was just going up, and that's kind of my mission now, is to try to, I could never be like him, but to try to be as close as I can, to try to be good, to try to not gossip, to try to not judge, to try to be kind. So when it's my turn, I can see him again. I don't know if it'll happen, but I hope. And thank you for this. This is so nice.
We have a really nice goddess community, and I'm always turning to these ladies that come on because they always have this little extra, like, icing on the cake to add to each episode. So I really appreciate Renata, Tanis, and Michelle. And you are going to give away a book. So your second book, without one word spoken. Lauren, we're going to raffle it off.
It looks like this. This is it.
Mm-hmm. Winner is, you all should really get it. And this one too. This one is Lessons from Jacob. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the picture of, anyway, hopefully you'll get it.
The winner is Michelle Marie.
Michelle Marie, yay. Okay, I want to show some pictures. I'll show some pictures from this book. There's Jakey and his brother, right?
Yeah.
Little. And do you have other pictures in that other book, I guess? Yeah. But
If you want, do you want me to show you, because it has lots of pictures, do you want me to show the song? I don't know if I can share, but I can try to find it. Am I a co-host?
yes.
Okay, so if I'm a co-host, hold on, I'll go get it first of all. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves while I'm trying to find it.
Dennis is adding, he has a beautiful, okay, I can't pronounce that word.
Pleiadian.
Pleiadian and angelic energy. The Pleiadians are wonderful healers. You showed me in Renata an image of himself playing the harp like an angel, but in a humorous way. Yes, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. So here's the card that I drew for him. And it's Heart of Source, all-encompassing love, unconditional acceptance, serenity. And when you showed me his picture, I very much felt that. But that's like, we're all love, like that's what we actually are. And so he encompasses that, like, in the deepest way. That's what that card represents. And he showed me an image of himself, like just in a humorous way, like being like an angel and playing the harp in a you know, in like a classic way that we see represented in art. But this is just to let you know that he's right where he's supposed to be. When he passed over, he actually requested to be, he had a soul contract for him to be one of your guides. So he's there, he's actually there every step of the way. He's very active in everything that you do. He's always there. You can absolutely talk to him whenever you like. He can always hear you. He's sending you messages all the time. Yeah, we joined late because, like Michelle said, we have our own show. So we've been running way late. We like
What's
to make
your show? What is your show?
Michelle, do you want to say what our show is? We don't have a name, but
They,
Will you
they
send me?
have a Facebook Live at 6 to 7, so that would be 7 to 8 Toronto time for you. I can send you the.
Yeah, please do. That's
Okay,
be
so
so interested.
I'll get the book to you. I'm just looking at the time. Ellen, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. This has been wonderful as always, and blessings to you. Okay, next week we're not going to have Grateful Goddesses because it's Passover. I'm going to be traveling and it's Easter coming up. So everyone have a nice seders, nice Easter hunts, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you the following week. Thank you, Lauren, again for the production and all the connections with the people. And thank you, all the supporters and those people watching Facebook Live. Join us. Join us in the live audience next time. Register at pulver.com. Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you for your kind words, everybody.